We're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Foolish Finance Friday, episode 23. If you are not familiar with us, with Women in Linux, you know what, D? We should do the commercial. We don't even do the commercial anymore. We don't even talk anymore. We should drop a commercial. What's going on? Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy birthday to some people. Some people, this is their birthdays. I just had mine. When they start coming in November, you just gotta kind of get in where you fit in. Got to get in where you fit in. We got, I should be talking Foolish Finance Friday with Diddy and all of them and all the lawsuits. I should get on it. I should be in that in the streets talking about it. I should be talking about it. Mm-mm-mm. What do we have here? What is going on in these streets? Thank you, Natasha. What do we got going on in these streets? First, the fat boys break up. Now this. First, the fat boys break up. Now this. Shout out to Chicks Can Code for joining the 500K members. Need to do a show. Probably do one tomorrow for the earners. Got so much to talk about. Got so much to talk about. I feel like every time I take time off, it be the conversations just pile up, and I was like, "What am I talk about?" I feel like taking off is a disservice because I feel like when I take off, all the stuff just pile up on us. There's so much to talk about. Helmet Chili, thank you for the 6.99 super chat. It may be a sticker, but I think it's a super chat. But either way it go, we appreciate you every week showing us love and coming through. Um, we try to make sure we bring y'all clear, concise content as well as things that you can use. If you haven't checked shorts out, I did shorts this week. Give us some likes on the shorts. Push the algorithm, give us some likes. I know y'all probably got about like 10 different accounts. Just hit like. Don't forget to like this show too. It's live. Don't forget to like this show. Let me like it myself. Like. All right. Yep. I did some shorts this week. My goal is to do 5 shorts a day. Really, that's like minimum minimum of 5 shorts a day. 30 days. I mean, we got content for days. We literally got content for days. Thank you. We really literally got content for days. I could probably do 20 shorts on one video. Like it's enough out there. Um, from the training to so forth and so on. So I'll be doing more shorts as well. Speaking of shorts, I do want to bring this up because I brought this up to Wednesday. So on um the job with Selby Jennings, I posted it in our Slack and I also did it in a short. The one uh yeah, been showing folks these Selby helmet like I've been talking about this. Been talking about it. So the job that was from 5 million to 10 million. I posted it in the short. Somebody came back and said it's too good to be true. This job screams scam. And this I kind of want to get into that because um like when I'm and Joe's coming on. He want to come next week, but I'm busy next week. So I told him to wait. I'm busy the week after that too. So he's gonna come on 2 weeks, but I may try to squeeze him in earlier. may try to squeeze him in earlier. Um, because we can't be out here talking about where the jobs at and why ain't nobody hiring and we're not getting the skills. Number one. Number two, we're not doing what we're supposed to do by applying. We don't show up to the room. So, you know, we can't complain when we're, what I'm saying, I'm doing my part and other people are doing their part to equip people with what's needed just to be in the room, right? To get the interview. Um, if you didn't come to the meetup Wednesday night, I'm gonna pull this over, and I'm not gonna go through these. It's 20 of them. I went to their website and pulled down jobs. I mean, Selby is one. I haven't posted any of the other jobs. There are more jobs that are like 1 million, 2 million, or whatnot. But um, this I know it's fuzzy to me, so it's probably gonna be fuzzy on the screen. But let me see if I can probably make this bigger. Let's see. Let me download it. I'll probably just have to download it and save it, and then just go from there. That's probably gonna be the easier thing to do. Okay, so yeah, that's a little better. It's not as blurry. Okay, so here's a job, and I got a ton of them. Fintech startup. Let's see, it looks a little blurry on the screen. Let me blow that up a little bit there. One thing I don't like about the shorts is to cut off the screens too. So you got to be precise. All right, fintech startup, tech lead. Now I said this. Anybody who's been coming here, I said this a couple of weeks ago that these jobs are gonna be stupid. The money is gonna be stupid. The money is going to be stupid. We're starting to see just stupid things like we saw that most of the open AI. We should talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that tomorrow, but just for now, the engineers at Open AI I showed where some of them were getting $10 million packages on average. Business Insider came out today and said on average, most of them were getting between 800 to 1 million on average, right? 800 to 1 million on average. Now let's take it even one step further. Even if they was getting a base compensation of like 200 to 300,000, and then they got stock options and whatever ISOs, stock, whatever the case may be, they're still winning at the 2 or 300,000, right? Now, when we start looking at people getting payouts of and normalizing the 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, um, 800,000, those right there, like those are some of our norms that we're starting to see. And it's just not in AI. It's the infrastructure side is huge. The data engineering, um the automation, the security. It's just really I should just say infrastructure that encompasses the infrastructure. It's all just that money is just out there. And so we could debate on whether it's a scam or not, or you apply. Um, Let me look at this one. This one is 475 to, and you can see I got a ton. I literally made screenshots just for Selby Jennings. I just literally went through and made screenshots of jobs. And so I'm gonna cover these a little bit more on how we Linux tomorrow. The skill sets that are needed. Like this one right here is from 350 to 475. Let me see. I can blow it up right here. 350 to 700. Sorry, 350 to 700. And I want to talk about them more tomorrow. But I just want to put that in your ear as to like what is happening right in front of you. And We still want to talk about who, you know, relationship stuff. I'll just leave it at that. All right. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. All right. So IBM launches free courses to help address the green economy skills gap. So remember I told you about those ESGs? Here we go. IBM is attacking that, right? So global technology company. Let me blow up with some more. Technology company IBM announced the launch of free sustainability courses targeting learners across communities underrepresented in technology, aiming to provide skills on for the green economy. The new course will be provided by IBM Skills Build, a free education program focused on underrepresented communities in tech and helps adult learners and high school, university students, and faculty develop valuable new skills and assess career opportunities through collaborations with social service, economic development, vocational organization, as well as government agencies and so forth. Let me see if they got some information on it. I didn't see what the skills that you would be learning. Alongside new research from a company, Business Intelligence surveyed 3,000 global leaders, indicating a growing skills gap in sustainability. Right, the new IBM Skills Sustainability Roadmap will include AI powered recommendations for each learner with interdisciplinary coursework connect topics such as ecology and biodiversity with technology training and AI and data analytics. There we go. Right. The coursework includes introduction courses, mid-level offerings, and design thinking. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How many times have I talked about design thinking? You've been to the meetup. You know I've been talking about design thinking. I've been saying this. I've been saying it. I've been saying it. I've been putting it out there. Right. Coursework will include introductory courses, mid-level offerings in design thinking and green entrepreneurship, and advanced courses for learners to help apply their skills to sustainability topics across AI, cybersecurity, and ESG reporting. I've been talking about design thinking. Let's see, this is gonna come up with a Terraform book. Let's do design thinking. All right, the book is a design thinking in 24 hours how to get to the MVP. You all got to read that book. Right here. This is the book. Design thinking. Solving problems and realizing value in 24 hours. Right? That's the book. If you have if you have Safari, you can go read it in Safari. Um, Here is the table of contents for design thinking basics, part one, design thinking model for tech, design thinking for small audiences, resilient and sustainable teams, visible and visualized teamwork, understanding broadly, understanding the lay of the land, connecting the right people, learning and empathizing, identifying the right problem, thinking differently, being innovative, guardrails for thinking creatively, exercises for increasing creativity. Right, it's a long book, but get it. Go get the book. Go get the book. Shout out to Sasha. Shout out to Alonzo. How you doing? All right. Do I want to go here? No, we did that already. All right. So the price tag for happiness, millennials are saying it's 525,000 at a minimum. Right. It says millennials say they need a salary higher than half a million in order to feel financially happy. Do you think they're right or wrong? I'm going to say they're right. I've been trying to push y'all to the 500,000, $1 million club forever, but I'm being nice with doing the 200 club, right? Being nice doing the $200 club, the $200,000 club. Again, I'm not sure how everybody out here living, right? So let's go, because you'll say, well, most people don't make that kind of money. We barely make 100,000. The question you have to ask yourself is, why do you barely make 100,000? What are you doing to barely make 100,000? What skills do you have? Are you getting new skills? What's going on? All right, let's get into it. All right. Some people think money can buy happiness. Millennials say they need $525,000 salary to achieve financial happiness, the highest among all generations, according to Empower survey conducted by the Harris poll. Here are the yearly salaries Americans of different generations say they need to feel happy, according to the poll. Millennials, the generation born between 1981 to 1996, far outpaced the generations with their salaries. Their desired salary is more than triple that of Gen X, which is the next highest salary needs. Millennials are also at the prime age for several major financial decisions, such as purchasing a home, having children, buying cars, the whole nine. All right, so let's get into it now. Here, every generation has grappled with this question of how to calculate financial happiness. Hard work, a lot of planning, consistent savings, and even a little bit of luck in just the right measures. Just how big is 525,000? The median weekly earnings for U.S. worker is 1059, which would be 55,000 for the entire year. We ain't doing 55. I already told y'all, if you come over here, I'm not entertaining you at 100,000. I know it sounds harsh, sounds rude, sounds mean, but that's just where we're at right now. Like the $100,000 salary conversation, it doesn't even we over that, right? This means millennial, at least according to the survey, say that they need 10 times the median salary to achieve financial happiness. And other generations say they need more than double the median income. All right. So this was the survey. Let's drop down here. It said the survey also found that 71% of Americans believe that having more money would solve most of my problems, but money relationships with happiness is a complicated one, according to the research over the years. Many studies have shown that money and happiness are correlated, but to what extent is the unknown. Yep. Um, we hear this all the time about money and happiness. Like a lot of people say family is the happiness, and you got like, yeah, you can have family, but if all y'all sitting around and the lights is cut off and the water ain't running, I don't I that's not happy to me. You got each other, I get it, but that's just not happy to me. Tara, you said no experience can get over 100K. Well, you're gonna always go get some experience, right? See, this is the thing. Y'all gotta learn how to utilize your exams that you take, the study that you take, putting together portfolios. That's experience. That's experience. What's going on, Kayla? What's going on, Miss AK? How you doing? Right? You got to utilize that experience. You got to learn how to craft and word your stuff, and also you got to remember your studying is experience as well too. Right? All right, let's go. So for example, a prominent 2010 study, Daniel, I guess, Kahneman, and economist Angus Deaton, both Nobel Prize winners at Princeton, found that money only impacted emotional well-being up to an income of 75,000 a year. Subsequent research by the University of Penn researcher Matthew Killingsworth, meanwhile, found a well-being boost even above 75,000. Let me see. I want to see the survey. That's what I was looking for. Let's search survey on this page. All right, here's the survey. 72% of millennials and 67% of Gen Z. Okay, if financial happiness has a price tag, the average person believes it's an amount of 1.2 million. But that's not the full story. It turns out that a little goes a long way, as our research finds that incremental financial wins make massive impact on Americans' well-being. All right, so then they're talking about boomers. Then they get down here and they said, our data shows that the return on happiness isn't just about reaching a far out net worth. It's achieved by addressing money milestones like being able to pay bills, living debt free, affording everyday luxuries without worry, and owning a home. For over half of people, contentment is found in spending on experiences with those they cherish. Roadblocks, blah, 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 so forth and so on. All right, here we go. Financial happiness key findings. Most Americans believe that money can buy them happiness, but it amounts to more than net worth. The price tag for financial happiness is 1.2 million, and millennials estimate needing more wealth than any other generations to be comfortable. When it comes to salary, Americans say they need 284,000 per year to be happy, with men estimates much higher than women. Millennials put that number at 525,000, Gen Z 128, Gen X 130. I don't know what Gen X they asked. I don't know what Gen X they asked. And boomers 124. I want to be where they do these surveys. Where do I be at when they doing it? Do I be sleep or something? Where am I at when they do these surveys? Because I could have told you as a Gen X, I want to say at 130, right? Gen Z plans to retire the soonest of all generations at age 54, adjusting their plans from age 49 just 12 months ago. Future generations may not be able to count on inheritance boosts from their savings. 67% of the correspondents value being able to take care of themselves. How many in the chat gonna retire at 54? How many of y'all retiring at 54? In your, let's just say 50 to 60. Who's retiring 50 to 60? And how much money are you retiring with? This is something that we're gonna talk about today, because we're gonna talk about some Dave Ramsey stuff today. We're gonna talk about the 4% rule. We got a guest coming up. Oh man, it's gonna be jam packed today. I may hurt some feelings today. We might hurt some feelings today, but it's okay. The happiness quotient. Americans are optimistic through economic factors are dampening feelings of prosperity. Work life transaction advice is the top factor. Financial happiness, independence, and a cup of coffee. Financial happiness is about health as much as wealth. The secret to experiencing more happiness, having a plan of action. You need 3 million to retire. We're gonna talk about that. I've been saying 10 million. EYL came out and said 10 million. You said 3 million to retire. What age is that? Is that 62, 65, 72? I mean 70, or is that 50 or 54? Right. All right. So this is a video. I'm gonna skip that for now because I gotta take my headphones off. All right. So I saw this and I thought it was interesting. Um, uh, in 2022, mortgage applicants sought larger loans and faced deeper debt. But it also talks about how they were rejected too. In 2022, the housing market started out hot as determined. Home buyers piled on despite many challenges. Inventory was low, prices and competition were high. But beginning in March of that year, mortgage rates began a dramatic climb. that would temper demand on by the end of the year. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage went over 4% in March of 2022 for the first time since 2019. It topped 5% in April, the first time in 2011. And by the close of 2022, the interest on most common mortgage types would exceed 7%, a rate not seen in 20 years. A look at 2022 mortgage application data from Consumer Financial Protection Bureau shows that some of the initial effects of these higher and higher rates, the number of mortgage applications ultimately fell by 16%, and the number of home loans originated, those approved and funded, fell by 1 million compared to the year before. Fell by 1 million. Now, do you think people are going to keep applying? So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to make some more money. You're going to have some more income coming in. I've been having this debate, and everybody's trying to debate me that you could buy a house in a major city and pay 1,200 a month. I said, where? In the city. I'm not talking about if you live if you live in Atlanta and you bought a house in Macon. I ain't talking about that. I ain't talking about if you live in Atlanta and you bought a house in Kennesaw. It's still the metro area. No, I'm talking about in the city. With a train run, with a bus run in the city. In most major cities, the average rent now is 1,700. It went down. It was 2,200. But then you got to ask the question: what you paying at 1,700? Is it safe? Is somebody gonna have your car sitting on bricks? Do they have crime in the area? What is it? A grocery store around there? Is it a food desert? Is it only fast food? Do you uh, do you have a good resource to get healthy food? Do you have to go out your area to get healthy? Like, we got to have this conversation because everybody keeps talking about you can do it, but nobody wants to say in what area you can do this in, where you are safe, where like it's some areas where Uber and Domino's don't even deliver, but y'all want to live in the area because you say I get up and go to my job, and I just have to deal with the crime in the area. They was outside shooting last night, but by the grace of God, the bullet didn't come in the window. Like, why y'all want to live like that? I don't want to live with no roaches. I don't want to live with no rats. I don't want to step outside and look outside and be like, let me go back in because they out there fighting again. I don't want to do none of that. I don't want to do none of that. I don't want to do none of that where they got the car sitting on bricks because the shade tree mechanic in the apartment complexes come. I don't want to do none of that. I don't want to do none of that. Call me bougie, whatever. I don't want to see none of that. I don't want to see the guy changing the oil in the car outside. I don't want to see none of that in the apartment complex. I don't want to see none of that. I don't want to see none of that. You call me bougie, whatever. Just tell me where you living at, where you can pay, or where you can buy a house, and the mortgage is $1,200 in a major city. Let's pull up Houston. All right, it says for Houston, and I looked this up the other day. I was playing around with it. It said the average rent in Houston is 1,300 for 882 square foot apartment. 1,342. That's what they saying. For y'all out in Houston, let me know. Is that good? Because when I come down here and I look at the average rent down here, it said Fourth Ward 2,200, Afton Oaks 21, Greenway, downtown Houston 2,100, Midtown Houston 2,000, the Medical Center 1,900, McGregor And if I'm assuming I get further and further out from the city when I get into the 1300s. That's what I'm assuming. I'm gonna assume that. Now the question I ask: how safe is it? What's going on, Sam? What's going on, Muhammad? Thank you for joining us. How safe are these areas that are 1200, 1300? Is it safe? You let me know. Cause this right here, what I saw, Beaumont Place, that seemed like that's in Beaumont. That's not Houston. That's Beaumont. Beaumont is not Houston. I've been to Beaumont. Beaumont is not Houston. Right? I think I'm safe to say that downtown Houston and the surrounding areas is about 2,000 a month. So if you paying 2,000 a month, you go ahead and go on and slap on another $500 for insurance, uh, uh, lights, um, what you call it, internet. We're going to slap on another 500. All right. Maybe you got a park. You got to pay for parking, trash, valet trash. People laughed at me when I was like, I don't want to walk. I don't want to go. I don't want to move into an apartment where I got to search for parking and then walk my groceries from wherever my car is parked at all the way down to my apartment and up some steps. I don't want to do that. Especially if you living in DC and it's snowing outside. I don't want to do that. I'm not with it. But y'all let me know. Does 2000 sound about right? Cuz that's what I think it is. All right. Tim, you still out there? Cuz I'm getting ready. We're going to do the Dave Ramsey right after this. All right. So, how old is too old? If you dread living too long, it may be time to rethink your attitude. Now, why did I bring this up? Because we're getting ready to go into one, how much would you need for retirement? The controversy with Dave Ramsey and the 4% rule, which we've talked about. Um, we're gonna pull up some retirement calculators and stuff. I do have stuff for Foolish Finance Friday. I got a petty T in there. I got petty T for that. And we may have a petty T debate. We may do a petty T debate. We may keep it spicy. All right. So how old is too old? Like I say, people are living longer. And so you may need more for retirement. In fact, they're even encouraging women who are married that they need to plan for a second retirement because usually the spouse, which is the male, is dying earlier. The money is running out. And then, excuse me, and then by the time she goes and tries to live, she can't make it. I did the one with with the woman living in the cemetery. She washing up in the cemetery, right? So let's not, let's keep it a buck here. All right. So how old is too old? If you dread living too long, it may be time to rethink your attitude. What if making it to 100 is more curse than a blessing? All right. It says recent advances in longevity. Now we saw this with the guy with him, his dad, and his father. They were doing blood transfusions. The dad was giving his blood to his father, and then he was taking blood from his son and putting it in his body. We saw that. They were doing blood transfusions that he experimental. Again, there's a big group that go to the Swiss apps every year to talk about longevity and living longer. And so when we are sitting up here arguing about who living the longest or who gonna get what, this, that, and other, people are already talking about making having internet on the moon. They're already talking about having a whole culture and a whole society on the moon. They're already dropping cables on the moon, and I just got a feeling us is gonna be sitting here on Earth like, don't go outside during the daytime. We can go out only outside for an hour because the sun it be out for 23 hours. We can go out only go outside because it may burn you. Like you got to be in the rooms. All right. Recent advances in longevity research have led many retirees to embrace Live to 100 rally cry. Their goal is to stay alive for a full century. But what if making it to 100 is more of a curse than a blessing? There's nothing celebratory about living that long if you're miserable. Your physical decline can sabotage your final years. Here's the dark truth about longevity. Some retirees dread the thought of living too long. Maybe they're worried about outliving their savings. If money isn't a concern, they may assume they won't be able to enjoy life into their 90s. Even if they stay relatively healthy, attending an ever increasing number of funerals for family and friends takes a toll. Who wants to wake up every day morning? Who wants to wake up every morning amid grief and loneliness? For married retirees, another fear is outliving their partner. Don Beidel, a recreation and wellness director at a retirement community in Eugene, Oregon, met an 87-year-old man whose wife has dementia. I don't want to live longer than my wife. Given all these reservations about living too long, how can retirees adopt to a positive attitude about advanced aging? I don't agree with someone who feels they have to die after their spouse does, says Beidel, 77-year-old author of Guide to Healthy Aging After 50. You have to be independent. My goal is to live to 100. If you do it, you succeeded in an opportunity that most people didn't have a few generations ago. For retirees who've witnessed up close the impact of progressive diseases like dementia or Parkinson's on loved ones, it's only natural to want to die peacefully in your sleep, say 85 rather than 90. Do y'all want to live to 100? Did y'all see the guy that was 93 years old that was dancing? Oh no. Uh, it was a black dude. Let me filter. It came out this week. Yeah, it was a 93-year-old man. He was dancing. He was getting it. But there you go, the 93-year-old grandma, the getting it. They 93, they dancing and living and everything. He had all his wits. He had better moves than some of the younger guys. See, Natasha lived to 111. Yeah. Like so I don't know. The question is, what are you gonna have? What kind of financial setup are you gonna have to live to that age? Who's gonna be around? Who's gonna make sure that you're well taken care of? Who's gonna be the executor of your state? Are you gonna have money? Like it's a lot of factors that go into longevity. Long-term care is what it is. All right. So why did I talk about that? Well, I talked about it because this right here, and we'll go into it a little bit more with the Dave Ramsey stuff. I'm leading into it. So how to turn $100,000 into $1 million. Now, before I start this, going into this, there was on the Money Guy, um, in this video, they were talking. Well, let me see. Let me do. Is it the Money Guy or is it Money Guy? I don't know. We'll see. Uh, mm, 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 mm. It's the Money Guy Show. All right, so here in this video here, I to this earlier. I got my headphones on, so it's gonna come in over my headphones. Um, yeah, 8 hours ago. All right, so you're not gonna hear, but I'm just gonna talk about it. They were saying up here earlier that not nationwide, internationally, most people, I think their net worth or the money that they have saved up internationally is on average is $8,200. It says Americans on average have $93,000 saved up. 93,000, right? Which goes back to the actual link that I had up earlier. So here we go. Right here, the global wealth pyramid here. I'll take my headphones off so y'all can hear that. Let me actually switch this over to the other browser so you can all can hear that. Um because we gotta have a discussion. All right, this is at the 140 mark. Let me get there. All right, that's there. All right. Then let me take my headphones off. I forgot when I take my headphones out, it does that. All right. So let's go back over it.
47% of the global population. If you have over $100,000 in total wealth, you're in the top 13% of the population. And if you have become a millionaire, if you have cracked through millionaire status, you are in the top 1.2% of the entire global population. So it is pretty significant. We talk about how to be wealthy, but just being here in this country alone is kind of putting you in a unique place for wealth building. I thought.
All right. So I'm going to go back to that right there. Right. So if you, in your total wealth, right, if you are more than $10,000, that's 53% of the global wealth that's globally. If you have between 10,000 and 100,000, you're in the 34%. And if you have more than 100,000 to a million, you're in the 12% of the pyramid of the wealth around the world, right? And if you hit the million, then you got over a million, then you're at the 1% around the world, right? So as you continue to get more skills and as you continue to grow your skills, your income, your soft skills, your technical skills, your design thinking skills, your automation skills, your tech stacks, your understanding how to talk, how to get in the room and be the solution. As you increase those skills, you need to also and be able to understand you need to be also increasing your wealth and also saving as well too. I went and did and you all can do this too. There is a money then versus now calculator, and it's from the labor of statistics. Yeah, right here, the inflation calculator. All right, so I'm gonna blow this up. All right, so let me see. No, that's not the one I want. The CPI, this one. Let's blow this one up. So let's just put a number in here. Let's say I can use my own number. In 2011, total comp of 200,000, right? And what would that look like today in today's time? In today's time, that will be $279,000. So, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because some of you have been in jobs that you have been getting paid 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, and you've been working the job since 2011, 2013, 2014. So if you looked at the job and said back in 2011 or in 2008, I was making $200,000 in 2008. What would that look like in today's time? If you're at in 2008, if you were making 200,000, and in 2023 you're making 220, 200. Well, if you're making 200,000 and in 2023 you're making 220,000, you are short almost $60,000-$70,000. So you basically you've been doing yourself a disservice by being there that long. In other words, your take home pay could be more, or you could be in, investing more with the money that you have. So I'm going to give you this calculator so you all can kind of see where you're at, where you're going. What does that look like? I thought it was just an interesting thing to have, just some knowledge there to have. All right. So now we got through this right here with the global pyramid, right? Now let's go back over here where we're talking about how to take that $100,000 and turn it into $1 million. Now he uses the same calculator that I use with the Investor.gov calculator, but he's not doing anything different in this article that I have not shown you. But I want to just show you from somebody else's perspective other than my own what they talk about. Why? Who are we? Where are we getting this information from? Who is he, and why should we listen to him? Right. So his name is Damon Judd, and he gives a little credence about who he is. But anyway, is it possible to turn 100,000 into 1 million over 20 years at an annual rate of 10%, an additional $400 a month? Right? Annual rate of 10%, $400 a month. So if we went over here to Investopedia, over here to the investor.gov, you click on that compound interest calculator. We're saying that we're gonna start out with 100,000. Let's start out with 100,000. He's doing a monthly contribution of $400. He's saying do that for 20 years, and he said a rate of return of 10. And I'm gonna do one up, one down, so that'll be 9, 10, and 11. And he'll say, and that'll grow annually. All right, 947,000. So over here, he's saying at $400 a month, right? And if you go back over here and look, you can see like it could be 1 million at 11%, give or take, or so forth. Now, normally, I'm not sure if this investor calculator follows the Monte Carlo, which I doubt it does, where you're saying you can average 2 bad years, you got 3 good years, then another 2 bad years. There are calculators out there that would do that, that will simulate that for you. And we'll probably get a little bit into it a little bit later on in the show. All right. So now let's go back over here. He said, I share my income compounder strategy and how to achieve an annual yield of 12% using a tool called the Portfolio Visualizer. And this comes up in another video. I'm going to talk about that because this Portfolio Visualizer, I use the Monte Carlo simulation and project a portfolio value of $1 million after 10 years, the Monte Carlo. Now, when you go talk to advisors, when you go talk to a financial advisor, or even someone that's managing the fund or whatnot, they'll talk about the Monte Carlo simulation, and some of them will use the MAP simulation. It's very rare that I've seen people use the MAP simulation. I'm mostly seeing the Monte Carlo simulation. So it's Monte Carlo simulation versus map simulation. All right, so Monte Carlo versus the map. Okay, so um they got what's the difference they have, what the Monte Carlo method is. You can go on Investopedia here and look at the Monte Carlo simulation, how it works, what are the four key things they give you in the Monte Carlo. That's normally what you'll see most people kind of tend to lean towards, is the Monte Carlo. I'm trying to get rid of this thing here. That's why I want it to go away. You'll see them lean towards that when they're doing their presentations. They'll tell you they're using the Monte Carlo simulation. There are different simulations, but Monte Carlo seems like the one I hear all the time, right? All right, so then back over here, he read a story on Yahoo Finance that discussed how investor can turn $100,000 into a portfolio of a million. The concept was good. The advice was forthright. However, I had to read the entire article to determine how long it would take for that 1K investment to turn into 1 million. So I did a short on this, where I talked about I need for y'all to be strategic with you when you're looking for jobs. You all look for jobs and you're looking at the base pay. And it usually works like this. You usually find a job that has a high base pay and the company does like 3 or 4% on a on what they're going to input into your 401k or match or something like that. What you want to do is look for the jobs that kind of fall in the median, in the middle, where they're going to put at least 10, 12, 25% into your 401k and then give you enough salary where you can say, okay, well, I get enough salary, and I also get back some profit sharing, and I also get a total of every year going into my 401k, $69,000 going into my 401k. How did I come up with that? Because the employer puts in a certain amount and then the employee puts in a certain amount, but they can't gross over 69,000 between the employer and employee contribution. So again, imagine getting that 70,000 every single year putting into your 401k. That's a little different than you putting in 22 or 23,000 now, and then they do a 3% match. It's a little different. It's just if you don't do nothing, they just put it in. So this falls in line with some of that as well too, right? This falls in line with some of that. All right. So in here, the answer is based on the author's approach was about 20 years. I was a bit skeptical of that level of return over the amount of time without investing additional funds beyond the initial 100K. So I used the compound interest calculator from investor.gov to check the numbers myself. What I learned from that exercise is that it is possible with 100K and to turn it into 1 million over 20 years if the annual interest rate averages about 10% and an additional 400 is added to the portfolio. So if you're starting out with so again, in this case right here, say you did start out with that 70,000 after that first year and you want to get it up to a million, back on investor.gov, right? If we went over here to the calculator, say we did a savings goal right here, and we put in 1 million. Make sure I got that as 1 million. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, and your initial investment is 100,000, and you want it to grow for 20 years, and so you got a 10% right here, and it said calculate annually. It said that you would have to put in $476 annually. But let's change that and let's go with our number of 70,000 that you start out with, right? And then now let's calculate that. So now you will have to put in about $800 a month. So every month for the next 20 years, you could get to $1 million. So if you started out at 70,000, so instead of going taking your money out and splurging, do $70,000, and you can use this calculator however you want to. Um, you may have you may have several IRAs laying around, right? And you may have those IRAs laying around, and you want to roll them over into some type of account. It won't be 401ks laying around. It won't be an IRA because you can only contribute 525 a month or something like that, 521 a month. You want to do something where you can contribute for the next 20 years. You can contribute that $800 a month, if you had to start at 70,000, right? So you have to find another vehicle in order to do that, right? And most 401k plans are coming from employers. So unless you do a SEP IRA, unless you do a solo 401k or employ yourself, you can't do that from that perspective, right? So you just got to keep that in mind. So just trying to give you the ins and outs on how to do this, right? So now you could do this in a brokerage account too. All right. So now it says this is what the numbers look like. You put in 100,000. He did 400 a month. He did 20 and then 10, and then he gave a variance of 2. I did a variance of 1. He did a variance of 2, and he did monthly compound interest. And so with that monthly, it came out to 1,036,000. I did annually. He does monthly, right? Um, let's see. It says, let's assume that an investor who is in their 40s wishes to retire at 60 with a portfolio of 1 million. If that investor has $100,000 saved up and can save or reinvest $400 a month, then all they would need is a portfolio of securities that offer an average annual total return of 10%. Is that realistic? Not asking if 1 million is a realistic goal, because it's probably is not enough for someone who is just 40, uh, now just 40 and hopes to retire in 20 years. I think it's achievable goal if the concept of income compounder portfolio, such as the one I have developed for my own personal retirement, is applied. In my case, I got a later start on building my retirement portfolio, and now I have about $400,000 in my income compounder portfolio that I'm now growing by reinvesting the dividends and the interest monthly at an average annual yield of about 12%. Keep that 12% in mind, because this is going to get into the whole thing with Dave Ramsey. Keep that in mind. I do not plan to start living off my income from the portfolio for another 10 years. So let's take a look at the what the projected value might be for my IC portfolio over the next 10 years, with monthly reinvestment of 4,000, right? And so it says 12% of 400K, assuming an average annual interest rate, aka total return of about 8 to 12. The results show at 10%, the total value of my portfolio in 10 years will be about 2.2 million at 12% and 1.6 million at 8%. I sit up all day and I come up with numbers and like how this can work and what you could do and this, that, and other. If you haven't catch that episode, go back to episode 124. I kind of went over all of this with your 401k. But some of you may have IRAs all over the place or 401ks all over the place. Is you're gonna do better by consolidating those down. If it's performing real well now, you may want to leave it over there, but you may want to consolidate them down, so that way you can get a visual of where everything is at, what's going on, how much money you're investing, and so forth, right? So here on the Investopedia, he showed what in 10 years there'd be 1.9 million. He said that does not look bad, and if everything goes as planned, I should be able to be in good shape in 10 years. But what happens if I decide to start living off the income and the returns are lower than I expected? Another tool that could be used is the portfolio visualizer. Now, this gets into the Monte Carlo. There's a free version available if you wish to try it out for yourself, but the paid version allows you to save your results and do some other things like predict future results using the Monte Carlo simulations. Now, those that don't want to pay that 1% to your financial advisors and so forth and so on, and you want to use these calculators because you've gotten into an IUL, you have gotten into saving, you got bonds, you got T bills, you're tax free, tax now, you got your three bucket strategy, you're doing the avalanche or the snowball to get your debt down. You may want to use this before you talk to a financial advisor. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you do this before you start talking to a financial advisor, you can at least start talking the language and understanding what they're saying, what they're talking about, looking up some basic terms. You can go to FINRA. You can go to FINRA and look up some basic terms, or Investopedia and look up some basic terms. But what I'm simply saying to you, it will help you out to understand what they're talking about before you get in there, because when they start talking, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what this means, right? It says if you're serious about managing your own investment portfolio, I recommend paying the premium version and experimenting with PV, the portfolio advisor. That's what that means. The other benefit to using the portfolio advisor to forecast future results is that you can specify multiple stages of investment contributions and then later withdrawals, and you can adjust expectations for inflation, rebalancing, R&Ds. Like, this is a great tool to use. I think husband and wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, families, I think this would be something that y'all could sit around and on a monthly call, sit down and say, okay, look, we're going to use this and say, okay, if we as a family contribute $400 a month to this, we can set up a family retirement plan where if something, in the case of loss of job from said A, B, C, or D, there's a family plan that can help. Maybe you get $500 a month from the family plan or something like that. Of course, you got to get your paperwork in order, but imagine if families could have something where everybody contribute $400 a month, say for the next 20 years, and maybe it's I don't know, 30 of y'all in this family plan that's contributing this $400 a month. So let's just see what that looks like for 20 years. Let's say we got 30 people contributing $400 a month. What's that? 30 times 400 is what? 1,200? Is that right? And let's say y'all all started out with um let's say y'all all started out with, maybe y'all started out with, I don't know, y'all put in something together 30 times, y'all put $1,000 in for each person. So 30 times $1,000, right? So we're gonna say y'all started with it 300,000, right? Right, and each person is contributing $400 a month, so that's $12,000 and 20 years and 10, and he did compounded monthly, so I'm gonna do it monthly. And we're gonna do, and he did a variance. Oh, let me go to the other one. I'm doing it wrong. Let me go to my calculator. Let's go to my calculator. So the family initially puts in $1,000, and we got 30 people in here that's doing it, right? So let's go Let's do the numbers. All right, so we got 30 people that's cutting in. They're gonna put in $1,000. So we're at $30,000, right? For our initial start. And then we putting in 1,200. I mean, we putting in $12,000 a month because that's 400, right? And we're gonna do that over 20 years. It's the family plan, and we're gonna give a rate of return of 10%. And he's saying he did a variance of two. I always do a variance of one, but we'll do two, and we'll do monthly. And then let's calculate that. So in the family plan, in 20 years, this the family plan. This I'm just doing in the family plan. Where everybody out of 30 people contribute $400 a month in the family plan. The family itself could have about 9 million to 9.5 million. So let you can have anywhere between 7, 9, and 12, depending on the year. 7, 9, and 12, depending on the year. In the middle, it'll be 9, but two above on the variance is 12, and two below on the variance is 7 million. Now that's out of 30 people in 20 years that you can have a family plan of 10 million. Now here's the kicker, right? In this family plan, you all can set it up where each one who has contributed to this plan can get a stipend in their retirement from the family plan. Now, you can't leave Uncle Johnny Bob, who is a known con artist, over the family plan. That you can't leave Uncle Johnny Bob over the family plan. That ain't gonna happen. You're gonna have to find somebody else to do this. Now, how many of y'all would like to see y'all family as a collective being able to do something like that over 20 years? $400 a month into a plan over 20 years, you could do it. So maybe you don't get 30 people together. Maybe you get, I don't know, let's say you get 10 people together. Let's say you get 10 people together. Right. So let's say we get 10 people together. We start out with an initial $1,000 from everybody, right? And we get 10 people together. So 400 times 10 people, that's 4,000 a month. We start out with $1,000 a piece, right? So 10 people times 1,000, right? 10 people times 1,000, right? We'll drop that down to 10,000. And every month we got 400 people contributing, times 10, right? That's 4,000 a month. And they do it over the next 10 years, right? And then let's calculate that. That's 3.1 million for a family of 10, right? Now, this is the family side. Each individual person is still going to have their own thing that they're going to contribute to. But in the family fund, that family fund can be anywhere between 2 million to 4 million on the family fund with just 10 members at $400 a piece. 10 members, $400 a piece in the family fund. Now, y'all got to come up with your own bylaws, executors, and all this right here. But don't do it with 10 people that you don't like. Don't do it with 10 people you don't like. Find out 10 people that you do like. $1,000 to get started, to contribute to the fund, to get the fund going. And every year, every month, y'all just stick in $400. Every month, y'all stick in $400. I don't know. I think it's doable. Um, I don't know. You tell me. I even make it even more simpler than that. Say you got 5 family members, 5 friends, 5 family members, 5 friends. All right. 5 times 400 is 2,000 a month. And y'all got 5 of y'all that started. So we're gonna cut it in half. Y'all gonna start out at $5,000. Y'all gonna put in a total of 2,000 a month. And y'all gonna run that for 20 years. And you can take this and do it for 10. I'm just giving a number. So 5 people at 1.5 million. And you could set this up however you want to and say, okay, when everybody gets when one person turns 62, or when one person turns 65, they could do their 4% drawdown on this, or a 2% drawdown, or a 1%, or even a 2% drawdown, like a 2% drawdown on 1.5 million for everybody in there. Now, why did I choose 2%? Because I want to leave some money in there for the next group of people that may be coming along. They may want to come in and get attached to the plan as well too. So you can show them how to do it, but that group that came up with the first plan, they can leave it back for the rest of the family and designate it for them. And think about it this way too. Um, you don't have to do the GoFundMe's no more. You don't have to do the who gonna get buried, where they gonna get buried at, Baltimore. Y'all already got the money in the plan. It's already in there. Y'all can come together and say, we the elders have came together and said, hey, out of our plan, we gonna donate a headstone out of our plan. And that don't even come out y'all own money. That come out the family fund. Come out the family fund. I'm just trying to show y'all how different ways that y'all can take the same idea and use it for yourself, and you can take the same idea and use it for the family fund. And I'm just talking about $400 a month. And I'm just talking about 5 people, maybe even 10. And if y'all got 30, even better, right? And then y'all could go off and y'all could set it up by age. Y'all could say all the men in the family that are in this age range, or all the women in this family that's in this age range, or all the kids in the family that's in this age range. Whatever the case may be, y'all can set up a fund for the family where the family gets where the family is constantly getting money. Because now, say in 20 years, the new set of people come in, they're not starting at the 20,000. They starting at the 1.5 million. So now let's go back. Let's just round this up to 2 million. Let's go back. All right, now let's put this in, because now the new cohort coming in, right? And they coming in at 2 million. And it may be 5 of them, and they putting in 2,000 a month for 20 years, 10% on a return monthly. Now calculate that. That's 16 million in 20 years. So now the family is y'all just churning. Every 20 years, the family should never have no problems. Nobody should never have nothing. Now, I say that, and I know it's gonna be somebody now that's gonna try to stick up the family fund. Because their eyes gonna get big. Did y'all see what was in the family fund now? Oh, we need to cash on out. We need to cash on out. We need to cash on out. So I'm saying this loosely, but I'm just showing how you can get 5 people together and build a family fund where y'all can, like, think about if y'all had in 20 years 16 million for the family fund. Y'all will be like, we're gonna do a family vacation. We're gonna put together this thing, and we're gonna do a family vacation. All y'all gotta do is just show up, because the family fund, is gonna take care of that. Now you may have a little skin in the game. Somebody might be like, y'all need to get your passports. You need to get your shots. You need to get your food and all of that. Y'all may have to contribute to a plate just to put you some skin in the game. But the family fund is going to take care of the majority of the stuff. And those that can make that, again, it's just a family fund. And again, you keep that however you want to, whatever the case may be. I'm just throwing it out there. All right. So over here, he used the Monte Carlo portfolio visualizer, uses the Monte Carlo to come up with like how the income compounder portfolio could handle. And so he was like, here they got 25 holdings, all which I hold in my own personal portfolio. And I ran the Monte Carlo using the 25-year simulation duration with 10 years until I start taking withdrawals at a rate of 5%. And he's like, it looks like it's blurry on my screen too. So don't worry about the blurriness because it's blurry for me too. I mean, oh, go away. Thank you. All right. So here, let me go back up to here. Oh, yeah, that's his thing. Let me scroll down. Hold on one second. See, it's blurry for me, but here's what he's in. Here's the stuff that he's in. Oh, that's a little better. There we go. I don't know if I can make that bigger. I can't. But here the tickers that he's in. Um, Here's the allocations of those tickers and so forth. All right. He said, my assumption is that this model run include a starting portfolio balance of 350 with a 10-year glide path until the ending portfolio transactions over to equal $10 to equal just 10 to over to just 10 equal weighted holdings for simplicity's sake. This is what the ending portfolio looks like that I use for simulation. The portfolio visualizer, I indicated that the simulation, they don't give me a number. It's got 10% allocation here. An IRA and will not be subject to RMDs for at least another 10 years. The model is based on statistical returns and uses a normal time series model with historic inflation assumptions and monthly rebalancing. Since most of my income holders pay monthly distributions, and we talked about this monthly dividends, compounding monthly, whatever you get into, you want. In the way I've seen a lot of people do it, they don't do the annual dividends or the quarterly dividends, they're monthly dividends, right? And my model portfolio balance looks like looks like this, with just a million in total assets at a 10-year at the 50 percentile median just before I start taking withdrawals. So he's got, it looks like right here, this right here is like above 50 million. That's what that is. That's what, yeah, because this line is 50 million and that's above 50. This line right here is below 5 and then down here and then down here. And so you could be in different percentiles. He said, and note that even after I start taking withdrawals after the 10-year, the portfolio balance continues to increase over the 25-year duration. The end of portfolio balance upon my presumed death at the age of 89 will be between 500,000 at the 10th percentile and up to 11.5 million at the 90th, which will allow me to leave considerable sum to my heirs. And that's where I was going with this. You can build this up where you can leave money behind for others. All right. So D, let's get into drop the link. And let's get into this Dave Ramsey's situation here. All right. So Dave Ramsey had a big shouting match on his show. And on this show, he talked about a caller called in, and this guy right here is the actual caller that called in. And in when he called, he's like, I called Dave Ramsey to talk about 8% drawdown. And in that 8%, and Tim, you're more than welcome to come up now. In that, he gave a big shouting match about it and ripped his co-host apart. And everybody has responded to this, and we're going to talk about a little bit about this tonight because um he's done 3 shows on it right here. Um, pull this up right here. And this guy here, The Power to Zero, he's done 3 different shows on it. Um, but in him doing this show, um, they were saying that the co-host needs to leave. And that link is for Tim, so we could talk about it. All right, so let's get into. There's 3 different reactions. That's his own personal reaction. And let me see if in here we can talk about it. Let me get it on the right thing so y'all can hear. Let's go here. All right, so
8% with
let's go here. So again, so let's get some background on what we're talking about here. All right, we talked about the family fund, and we talked about a withdrawal rate, right? And I'm gonna minimize this until I'm ready, which I'm ready, but I want to get some background. So you can go and look at a withdrawal retirement calculator, right? So key.com has one. All right, so here I'm gonna blow this up. All right, so let's say you got $1 million in your retirement. You want to have an annual salary of $50,000 for your retirement. Now, when I say this $1 million may be one bucket. You may have another bucket that may be 700,000. You may have another one in a brokerage account that may be sitting in 600,000. You may have buckets everywhere, right? That has money. Now it says the rate of return after tax. It could be, the rate of return could be 5%. The expected inflation rate could be 7%. So you may want to do something at 10 or 5. So let's go here and do 10 right here. And then let's calculate that. It says on $1 million, with an inflation rate of 7%, you will be able to fund that for 29 years and 1 month in retirement. Well, what if you don't have, anything else set up and you got this $1 million, but you get sick or you got other things you got to keep in mind? There are other things that you gotta keep in mind about. So this whole thing about what is the drawdown rate is a super huge thing, because Dave Ramsey is like, oh, you could draw down 8%. Everybody else is like, you gonna go broke and you're gonna be washing up in the cemetery. You know, you all gotta work on some things. We got in the back, we got Intentional Millionaire coming to the stage. I know you all have been talking about this. But let's bring you on up and let's get your initial thoughts, and then we can go into some videos.
What is going on, Tam, in the chat? How's Women in Linux doing today?
I mean, I'm doing good. I was looking forward to this show. Like I said, it's a little offbeat. I got some petty moments in there, but this was a little bit more important to me than the petty moments.
Listen, I'm gonna be the first one to say it. Dave is off, and I like Dave, but this one, to me, I don't know. I think he it's built into his program. You get older, you're gonna have to come back to Dave and go through a course.
You're gonna always.
No, I don't think it. I know because he called everybody that disagree with him, sitting in the basement, the financial nerds and things like that. But it's a reason why, because his logic behind it is just using basic math. And he doesn't account for the years that the market doesn't go down is one. And then the years where inflation go over 4%. And then what most people know about equities market, when the market is down, it takes 3 to 5 years for you to really get back to zero.
Mm-hmm.
So with that alone, it just make his 8% withdrawal rate flawed, in
Right.
my opinion.
Right. And one of the guys said, yeah, he's right. The market does return 12%, right? And yeah, you can do 8%, but can you do 8% for 30 years?
Right.
Can you do 8% for 30 years? And so that's the conversation that we have to have. And I know for us, and y'all can put a 1 in the chat if this makes sense to you. Do you all understand what we mean by drawdown? Let's start there first before we start diving into it. Do you understand having a retirement plan and then what the drawdown rate is for you as you go into retirement? I just showed you you could have compounded 1.5 million can be 16 million in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Of course, you got to put some money into it, but imagine you working a job and you putting in $2,000 a month. You know, you could get off. You could go some places with that. Right. So again, Tim, you want to tell them what drawdown rate means? I'll pull it up from Investopedia as well too. I'll let you give your spiel.
Yeah, so drawdown rate just means that when you're in retirement, how much you're taking out. So when you accumulate in retirement, that's what you call contributions. That means you taking money out your account, your disposable income, or your money after you net your paycheck. You're taking that money and you putting it into your retirement plan. That's called a contribution. But now when you get to retirement, your withdrawal is when you now start taking the money and living off of the money. And one of the things that you have to think about, though, is, and this is a word that most people always think about when they talk about retirement, is, am I going to outlive the money? So because you got to think about outliving the money, you now got to think about how much can I take out so my money can outlast me. And what that means is basically you pass before you run out of money. That's ultimately what it means. So if you take out too much, then that means that you're not going to have enough money as you in retirement. So now you got to consider going back to work. You got to go consider things to start remaking income. Now, if you have a more sustainable withdrawal rate, then that means that you could take out X amount and you can do that until you pass, basically. And then the money that's left, you can now transfer that to your beneficiaries. And depending on what type of product it is, then your beneficiaries can get it in a lump sum, or they can still take some type of withdrawals, but that's a little bit more technical, but that's just the understanding of what withdrawal means. So withdrawal just means that you taking money now because you actually in retirement.
Correct. And here it says a drawdown percentage is the portion of retirement account that a retiree withdraws each year. If a drawdown percentage is too high, the retiree will outlive their savings and struggle financially at the end of their life. If the drawdown percentage is too low, the retiree would die with money left over. So the question is, do you want to have money left over? Some people like, I don't care nothing about them heirs. I ain't leaving them nothing. And some people are like, I want to leave something behind, but you get to designate where it goes. You get to designate who and what they can do with it. That's why they say you can control money from the grave. But again, you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to have your peoples lined up. You got to have your documents lined up, airtight, so that can be taken care of. All right. So now let's get into this video now. All right. So he's got his opening. I'm gonna see if he can cut into the Dave Ramsey rant. Let me see. It don't look like he cut into it in here. I was trying not to use Dave Ramsey stuff because with Dave Ramsey, they shut your stream down if you play.
Oh yeah, they gonna copyright every little bit. Yeah, it's like 10 seconds of a video.
Yeah. So I try not to use that, but let's get into the first video, and then we can go into some subsequent videos. All right, let's go.
I don't hear no audio, Tam.
Can y'all hear that? Make sure. Can't hear that. Gotta click on this one. There we go.
Dave Ramsey eviscerated his co-host George Kamel for referencing research done by a website called honestmath.com that made the case that if you want your money to last a full 30-year retirement, you can never take more than 4% of your day one retirement balance, adjusted every year thereafter for inflation. Well, that, of course, flew in the face of what Ramsey himself had been preaching over the last 20 years, namely that you can take 8% distributions and never have to worry about running out of money in retirement. When Ramsey found out about George Kamel's claims live and on air, he went on a 9-minute tirade that implicated Kamel himself and a whole cadre of financial planning super nerds who live in their mom's basements punching on their calculators. Well, today I wanted to bring on the very person whose research precipitated Dave Ramsey's epic meltdown, and that's the founder of honestmath.com, chartered financial analyst, Kaylin Dwyer.
All right, now I'm gonna pause that because this is the guy right here that actually called in to the show to ask Dave Ramsey, and they kept cutting him off. And they cut him off, and he cut off Rachel, his own daughter. He cut her off too. She was like, "Well, why is that not why is this the situation? Why doesn't it make sense?" And he went off. He called people dumb. He called them stupid. He just went off. So this guy is giving his explanation as to why he called in. So let's get into that.
The volume is not there again.
So he's the guy that called in. Get past this.
There's no audio again, Tam.
No audio again?
Yeah.
Huh.
Dave Ramsey doing something to your computer?
No, it's the thing. Let me go over it again. So that should be audio.
Nope. Nope. No audio.
No audio? Ain't no audio on that either? Let me try this one.
Dave Ramsey is still giving his dangerous advice, so I gave his show a
Audio.
call. I barely even mentioned the topic, and
I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate. There's all these goobers out there have always put this 4% crap in the market.
he really exploded.
If you think you can only pull off 4% off of investments making 12, where the flip is the other 8% going?
You're not going to want to miss any of today's episode.
Now, I want to pause right here and ask you this question, Tim, because Dave Ramsey is big on, and this is important to this conversation. He's big on mutual funds.
Mm-hmm.
And his mutual funds that I looked at what his portfolio is, they do return 12%. But what about the fees that are associated with that?
Yeah, but it's 12%. But it's 12% before all the costs is involved, which normally the cost to take that percentage of 12 down to about 8. Because the costs on most mutual funds range anywhere from 3 to possibly 4%.
Right.
So and we have to know that the reason why he probably deal with mutual funds because he market those in house, and his agents that's licensed they get trail fees. They get 12B1 fees on the total amount of money in the account.
All right. I know people don't know what 12B1 fees are. Go ahead and tell them because I know what they are.
Yeah.
But go ahead and tell them what 12B1 fees are.
So you also in mutual funds, a 12B1 fee is a fee that is charged every year, and is a trail fee for that fund, that mutual fund managing your money. And generally they say that it's expenses for basically taking care of and managing the fund. But that 12B1 fee goes to the agent that's managing the portfolio. That's pretty much what it is. So it's a expense for them making you money, and it goes to the agent of that said mutual fund.
Right. And so we got to also state this because I had to look this up. The goal of the mutual fund is to beat the index 500, right? The S&P 500. The goal of the other funds is to ride along with it. Like I'm going to match what it is. So that's why you got a management fee for the mutual funds because it's their brain power, their algorithms, their outlook, their thoughts on what it should be in order to beat the actual S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 is returning 10, their goal is to beat 10.
That's correct.
So you got to understand, like again, what kind of investor are you? Are you willing to take the risk and be in mutual funds, or are you willing to take the risk and just be in index funds and just match and be okay with that? With the expense ratio may be a little cheaper because you don't have that 12B1 fund or fee coming out. That's
correct. And one of the things is I like to say when you compare mutual funds to index funds, just think of mutual funds is like a mutual fund is like you going to the mechanic and get your oil change. An index fund is like you changing your own oil. They both can get the job done, but you have to know you're going to pay more when you get a professional to do it for you. But also you have to know though, with that mutual fund, its job is to try to make you money, but every time they do something, that may affect the expenses associated with said mutual fund. With the index funds, once you set it up, it's pretty much set and it's ready to just go. And that go means it's just trailing whatever the S&P 500 is doing.
Right. So y'all hope y'all got that. All right. So let's go back. Oh, I can't listen to him on this one. I have to go over here. Sorry, let's get him talking. I don't think he's talking right there. And we look. Okay, yeah, this is what he picks up at right here.
I honestly think this is a great question, and I was genuinely excited to hear how Dave Ramsey was going to answer it. I was really looking forward to having a little bit of back and forth, having Dave ask me questions, providing some answers, and coming to a conclusion that I could interestingly share with you. So on November 2nd of this year, November 2nd of 2023, I called into the Dave Ramsey Show to ask the question. And I wish I could say that this call went better.
Jay's in Kansas City. Hi, Jay. How are you?
I am blessed. How are you, Dave?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Well, before I start, I want to thank you for your foundations curriculum for high schoolers and homeschoolers, because without that, I wouldn't be debt free today.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
Were you a student in it or a teacher? Or
I took it as a homeschooled student years and years and years ago.
Wow.
Good
That's
for
fun.
you, Jay.
So my goal in thanking Dave for the foundations curriculum was twofold. I genuinely wanted to thank him. If it weren't for his curriculum, I really wouldn't probably be debt free today. And I wouldn't be near as blessed as I am financially. Second, by showing Dave that I've been following his material for years, I can show that I know his stuff well. I can show that I've followed it to the extent of being debt free at the very least. And I can pay him a compliment so we can have a friendly conversation. I know he's gotten a little touchy on the last couple times the 4% rule gets brought up. And I didn't want to poke the bear. I wanted to have a productive conversation.
So my question today is I'm baby step 4, 5, and 6. I have about 120,000 saved for retirement. That's across my IRA, my Roth IRA, my wife's Roth IRA, and the 401k.
How old are you?
And I've 30 years old.
Good for you. Well done.
Thank you. I feel from what I've been running the numbers with that I'm on the teetering edge of coasting financial independence. And I'm trying to best understand my plan with the end in mind. So how I'm going to turn that nest egg when I retire into income. I found on your website a little article that talks about 4 to 5% withdrawal rate.
Now, this is the first citation, the article that got taken down.
And I was trying to run the numbers around that, and I thought I was close. And then about a month ago, George Kamel released a video that said that the withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon should be closer to 3%. So if I can establish financial independence comfortably, then I was wondering if I could ease up on baby step 4 to pay off the house faster.
Now, I couldn't see when I'm calling into the Ramsey show. I actually couldn't even hear that well because the audio is so degraded when you're talking over the phone. But you saw Dave's face there when I mentioned George's video. He got very perplexed. I get through my question here, and I was expecting that since George genuinely did show evidence that you need a 3% withdrawal rate for a 30-year time horizon, that he would look at that, ask questions about it, and we could start a little bit of fun back and forth and dig into my question.
Okay, I'm a little confused because I don't know what the hell George is doing a 3% withdrawal rate, because that's absolutely wrong. I'm gonna have to find out where that video is and get it taken down.
All right, Paul's right there. So he already took the article down because the guy said there was an article on his site that talked about the 4% rule. And then he took that one down. And now George came back and said, let's do a 3%. I actually like George. I follow his stuff. I look at his stuff. He makes sense to me. So he came back and said 3%. Now Dave is finna go on this tirade about how the 3% rule doesn't make sense and how you should be doing it 8%. Now, before we continue, I have questions. I have always said, if you have $1 million and you are drawing down 4%, it's $40,000. How do you live in retirement on the 40? I'm asking questions. Now, the other question is, people are like, well, how much debt do you really have when you're retired? Well, let's be real. Most people probably didn't start earning money until their mid 40s, maybe late 30s, mid 40s. So for you to have $100,000 saved up, or even $200,000 saved up in your mid 30s, 40s, you're doing good. Most people don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people got about a hot 10.
Yep.
They got about a hot 10,000, and that's all they got. So again, is $40,000 enough for the retirement?
I would say no.
And put
absolutely not.
And put in the chat if y'all can make it at the age of 62 on $40,000. Your house, I'm assuming your house, you possibly maybe got it paid out, but if you didn't get a house until you're 45, you got a 15, 30-year mortgage. I'm not seeing it. And I don't see $1 million being the only goal. It's a goal. I just don't see it being the only goal. Sim, you silly. All right, let's get back to it. Anything you want to add before I start back up, Tim?
No, I think that's a great comparison.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Because that's just wrong. You don't need to have a 3% withdrawal rate. That's ridiculous.
At this point, when Dave kind of blew up at George, there I realized that I didn't play my cards right. That just because George had a video out there that supports conservative safe withdrawal rates, that Dave would be charitable about it. And if you've listened to Dave historically, you know that this is the start of a rant.
Oh, no, you got it.
Or I hope you misunderstood. I hope we didn't put out trash like that.
Was
but
it 4 to 5%? Like that?
No, it shouldn't be 4 to 5%. It ought to be more than that. I mean, if you're making 12 in good mutual funds and the S&P is averaged 11.8, and if inflation for the last 80 years has averaged 4%, if you make 12 and you need to leave 4% in there for inflation raises, that leaves you 8. So I'm perfectly comfortable drawing 8. But if you want to be a little bit conservative, 7, but sure not 5 or 3.
Well, I was trying to back check it because, 3 to 5, I thought that was a big range. And a lot of the studies I found showed
Well, there's a lot of
stats
studies that are
anything from-
stupid in this space. It's just wrong. Listen, man, the math I just gave you is the math.
Math is math. Math is math.
If you're making 12% and inflation is 4 and you leave 4 in there, so your nest egg grows by 4, it's simple. 8 is what's left over. So if you got $1 million and you leave 4% in there, that's $40,000. Okay, so you now have $1,040,000. So the next year you get a rate of return of 12%, 11.5% on the $1,040,000. And the next year it'll be $1,090,000, 1.1, right? And because your nest egg is growing by the rate of inflation, giving you a cost of living raise.
Again, here we run into the problem of Dave Ramsey's simplified formula, which doesn't take into account the fact that the market goes up and down, volatility and sequence risk exist.
And so if you want to be a little bit conservative, maybe 5%. But there's all these goobers out there who have always put this 4% crap in the market. And I'm just irate right now that we have joined the stupidity.
Why is it that?
Question. This is what I wanted to hear from Dave. Dave's daughter is saying, why is it stupid? Why? Well, this is the part where you've heard me try to get in edgewise a little bit. I'm getting ready to jump in and hopefully be able to talk about this. Notice if you're watching on the video, Dave reaches out and pushes the button to hang up on me right before I get the chance.
It's too low because it's not realistic. You do not need to live on 4% of your money for your nest egg to survive.
Yeah, even if you did a rate of return of 10% or something.
Yeah, and what it sets up is
right there. He hung up on me.
This guy now he doesn't think he's got enough money. And he's already got $120,000 and he's 30 years old and he's on a plan. He's on a plan to be very wealthy and he's worried he's going to have enough money or not.
Yeah.
Because stupid people put out low withdrawal rates. Like if you think you can only pull off 4% off of investments making 12, where the flip is the other 8% going?
There it is again. There's a good question that Dave should be asking. Where is it going? It's going to volatility risk and it's going to sequence risk. That's where it goes. There's solid math.
All right, Tim. Where is it going? Let's answer that question. Where is it going, Tim?
It's really going. What Dave is not saying is really going to when the markets is down. You're not getting 12% in that year. You're getting negative 12, and it's also going to when inflation is not 4, it's 6. You cannot. The danger in what Dave just shared is you absolutely in the young guy he covered it. You absolutely cannot use averages for your makeup because averages means that all the numbers was in the positive. That's the first red flag. He's saying that you assuming inflation is always 4% and you always get 11.5 to 12% rate of return.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. There's what the market has done. It says the U.S. Stock market has a long history of producing double-digit returns. On a yearly average, the S&P 500 returns 10.53% over the last 100 years. But again, utilizing the Monte Carlo and utilizing the not so years. Now, I've looked at some videos, and some videos are like, you need to account that the market is going to be down for 5 years, but there's no history of the market being down for 5 years.
Right, but it's not about the market being actually down. It's about that if your market goes down 1 year, it takes 3 to 5 for you to actually pass zero and then get back to where you was.
Gotcha.
And that's the part you have to factor in. If you was to put in a investment calculator and do one down year, let's just say a down year of negative 24%, it'll take you about 3 years to get back to 24% in the market, and now you back in the green again. So, and that's what Dave don't factor in. That's why they call it sequential risk.
Gotcha.
Because it's not a 1-for-1. It's not what people tend to think is with investments is, okay, the market is down negative 24%. Then next year is up negative 25%. I made 1%. No, that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the benefit is you could get a bigger gain if you go to full distance. It's because you purchase more through DCA. If you're doing DCA, you purchase more.
Dollar cost averaging for those.
Right. So you're able to get the snowball back rolling again because the snowball rolled down just as fast and it builds up bigger, just the same way it goes down, it goes up.
Right. But and the other issue is, and this is one of the bigger issues that I have with what he was saying about the 8% is when we are talking about an 8% withdrawal rate on $1 million, how long is that gonna last you? Now,
in 10 years, that's 800,000.
Right. But it's still supposed to be growing too, right?
No, because here's the other side of that. It's a part of this. The part of the equation nobody I saw talk about this topic. Nobody didn't factor in the expenses if you in mutual funds.
Well, that's what I brought up. That's why I brought it up, because Dave is looking at it from a perspective of being in mutual funds, and I am saying that there are expenses on the mutual funds.
Exactly.
And as the portfolio grows and as time goes on, those expenses are going to go up. They're not going to just stay the same.
That's correct.
They're going to
5% on $1 million. That's 50 grand.
Right. So those expenses are going to go up. And your portfolio needs to grow as fast as those expenses are growing as well too. If not, you're just gonna be pulling out money much quicker. So I get what Dave is trying to say at 8%, but is that 8% on $1 million or is that 8% on 10 million?
$1 million.
See,
which ain't enough.
Which is not enough. And that's where I had a problem at. So when y'all are looking at and listening to these things, this is why I tell you, what's your number, right? And you can have different buckets, and those different buckets can do different things. You can be in bonds, you can be in mutual funds, you can be in muni bonds, you can be in all these I bonds, you can be in all these different things. All I'm simply saying is, whatever buckets that you're in, what is going to be your number, and how are you going to have that grow, especially if you retire and can't work, or you is like, hey, I'm out the game, my eyesight is bad, or my hands are, the carpal tunnel doesn't set in real bad, and you can't type like you used to no more. What is that going to look like for you? And that's the conversation that I wanted to have with this, and also not just that Dave Ramsey was wrong, but what should be the withdrawal rate? Right. What is a comfortable withdrawal rate? And is it 3%? Because now everybody's like the 4%. Screw that. Some people say 3%. Now, if you go look at people like Oak Harvest, they'll tell you in your early years of your retirement, you probably are at a 5, 6, 7, 8%.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were first retired, you want to go ball and have some fun, you want to go take that cruise, that vacation, get whatever it is that you've never had before, then you slow down, and so then you'll ease off of that. Because and the other factor to that is you may not have kicked in with your Social Security yet. And so your Social Security may kick in at 70. You may retire at 62, 65. And then your Social Security may kick in at 70. So you may back off what you withdraw and then let Social Security come in and do its thing. And then when you get older, you may go back up because you got to care for, you got to have money for your for insurance for you got to have money for anything such as heart failure, stroke, or going to the doctor or whatnot. So the other part that never gets talked about is long-term care, right? And so that's what, to me, that's where the HSA comes into play, because the HSA is able to, at 70, not only be used for medical expenses, but it's also being able to use for retirement. And there's no RMDs on that. So you can just let that money sit there and just do its thing and grow.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of assumptions too, because that's the assumptions of making you also got to assume, is you gonna be in a tax situation? Let's just say you didn't fully maximize a Roth IRA, you didn't maximize a Roth 401k, so you still got to think about the taxes on the money too. If you may not be in a situation where you leverage to plan your taxes properly. I think that the key thing is, I think he markets a cookie cutter perspective, but I think the thing you still have to know when you think about retirement is that's individualized, is a cookie cutter from a general sense, and then you got to take that general knowledge and then tailor it to the individual. And I think they don't really factor that in, because if everybody did exactly what he just shared, it's gonna be a lot of people gonna run out of money. That's just the bottom line. It's going to be a lot of people run out of money. I also think that, when him talking about the withdrawal rate, I guess when Rachel asked the question, he never spoke to the math about it. He just said that it mess up people's hope.
Right.
But it's really messing up people from, you're really making it where most people going to have this false concept that they could just take out 8 and they're gonna be good in retirement, when the reality is they're gonna be in a worse situation.
Right. And not only that, he didn't answer the question. Again, I had posted and said there's no facts behind it. There's, show the numbers behind what you're talking about when you, and so that's what I try to do here is, listen, if you got $100,000, you put in $400 a month, you let that ride for 20 years. Here's what that looks like. Mm-hmm. Now, what's not accounted for that inside of the investor calculator is not accounted for the down years in the portfolio. Mm-hmm. It's just saying that, hey, if for 10 years, if we got 10% return, this is what it could be. But that's why you probably need to go use the portfolio visualizer, so you can do the Monte Carlo, so it can give you some down years of 2 years here, 3 years, good ride, 4 years, good ride, 2 years down. So you can really get a better sense of that. And even start looking at, again, I know a lot of you, maybe may be over your head. But as you start making money, when we're talking about, Tim, imagine somebody making $5 million, $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
How do they manage that money? Do they hire somebody to manage? Do they really go pay that 1%? Because they're getting paid 1% off of your portfolio, correct?
Yep. It could be so it could be so, because that's the 12B1 fee is just part of the expenses. That's not all the expenses.
Correct.
Because you're getting the upfront costs every time you put money inside the mutual fund too. And depending on what break point you come in, So, you know, if you do 0 to 25 thousand, that they may charge you 5.75%. Then you go from $50,000 $1 to, I think it was 150 some thousand. Then that percentage go down to 4.7 some percent. And then it goes down to when you actually put $1 million into the mutual fund and your actual sum equals $1 million, then the expenses go to zero. So what that means for everyone, so let's just say if you have a mutual fund, and let's just say you put $100 a month in your mutual fund, and I'm just using 100 for simplicity, that means that the full 100 is not going in the mutual fund. Only $95 and some odd 25 cents is going in the mutual fund, because they're charging you an upfront fee for you to put into the side that mutual fund. And then on top of that, every year you're going to be charged the 12B1 fee on top of that.
Right.
So that right there alone just shows that even the math off of that part doesn't jive with what Dave Ramsey is marketing when it comes to withdrawal rate.
Right. So I pulled up Ramsey Solutions, the common types of mutual funds that he has. And let me go back and let me see if I have the one that he has, his mutual funds. Here we go, right here. Perspectives. Okay. Which mutual funds do you recommend based on the Ramsey way? All right. And let me go. This is a Reddit one. I want to see the ones that Dave Ramsey recommends. And then we can go look at how much they cost. Like what's the actual cost on them. So, all right. So here's how Dave Ramsey has it laid out on his screen, on his stuff. He said how to choose the right mutual funds. All right. So he goes into what are mutual funds, the benefits of mutual funds, active and professional fund management. That's what you got to remember there. It's active and professional fund management. Hey, where did Tim go?
Oh, what happened to me? You booted me.
I didn't boot you.
I didn't do it, man. I'm down, still down here. Okay, there
you go. There you go. All right. It says, what was I? What a mutual fund. Okay, the benefits of it. All right, yeah. All right. Active professional fund management. Dividend reinvestment, lower cost, and instant verification. In the United States alone, 27 trillion total net assets are held in just over 9,000 mutual funds, right? What to look for when you choose a mutual fund? From Dave Ramsey, objective. He's got growth and income funds, growth funds, aggressive growth funds, international funds. Right. And then the fund manager experience. So this is what we're talking about, the fund manager. We mentioned the fund manager a couple of times already, but what exactly does the fund manager do? Unlike other investment, mutual funds come with a team of investment professionals. Basically, fund managers invest your contributions on your behalf. They also set the fund strategy. They perform in-depth market research. They monitor the fund's performance and adjust investments as needed. Other investments like index funds have a set it and forget it approach and no built-in professional management. You cross your fingers and hope everything works out, right? Mutual funds are more of a set it and trust it approach, right? And it says, that's why you want an experienced manager calling the shots on your mutual fund. Now, who's an experienced manager? How you go look up their track record for that mutual fund? That's another thing. Like if y'all gonna do mutual funds, you need to go look up them track records on those mutual funds. All right. All right. What sectors are they in? The performance, the rate of return. So here we go. Baby step number 4. Remember, once you get baby step number 4, invest 15% of your pre-tax household income. That means if you have a $65,000 a year income, you'll invest $800 a month. Here's what you can expect investing in a mutual fund between 35 to 65. At $800 a month, at 800 per month between 35 to 65 at a 10% return, 1.8 million. Does that sound off, Tim?
Very. Very.
All right, 35 to 65, 2.2 with a rate of return of 11%. And from 35 to 65, you got 2.8 at a rate of return of 12%. You're not seeing that, Tim? What are we missing when we're looking at this?
Well, the first thing we're missing is what is the age starting this investment? That's the first thing. That's the very first thing, because time in the market is going to dictate the amount you're going to have at the end.
Correct.
So what is the reference of the age we're referring to?
He's saying between 35 and 65. It don't matter.
See, that's total crap.
That's what he said. He said between 35 and 65, if you do 800 a month, you gonna be all right.
That's crap.
At 10 years or more. He said so 35, 45, 55, 65.
Nope. I ain't seeing it there, Tam. I ain't seeing it.
Well,
because if that was the case, then everybody be a millionaire.
We make 1,700 of them every day. You just want to complain. You just want
no. I just want Dave to be honest and give us some math that's mathing.
Okay,
because that ain't mathing.
All right, he said at the age 35, 45, 55, 65, you can do this. And he said that you at a rate of return of 10%. So you can start at 55, and by the time you in the next 10 years at 65, you'll be at 1.8 million.
So what I hear you saying is he's saying in 30 years. You do this in 30 years, do $800 a month, you'll have 1.8 million at a 10% rate of return. That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
I'm pleading the fifth, but yeah, okay, yeah. I'm gonna say yeah. Don't talk about Dave like that. I'm backing up. Yeah, that's what Dave said. Yeah, going with Dave. Dave, right?
And that's investing in what?
He just said. Well, if we scroll back up, he said invest in growth and income funds, growth funds, aggressive growth funds, and international funds.
I ain't buying it, Tam. I ain't buying it. It's too spread out. So is he saying you doing 25% over all those funds?
15%.
15% over all those funds.
Mm-hmm. At $800 a month.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It ain't working. The math ain't mathing to me. I'm gonna put that in a calculator. Why you? I'm gonna put this in a calculator right quick.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, you got it. Go ahead, pull it up. Put that in the calculator.
Let's do it. We want to do the compound interest calculator.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna do the compound interest calculator. We're gonna start out with $800, right?
$800.
And we're gonna do a monthly contribution of $800.
$800, and for 30 years at 10%.
We doing 30 years, or I thought he wanted to do it 10, but we'll do 30 at 10%. Do we want to go one up, one down?
No, we can keep it. We can keep it like he got it.
Okay, hold on. Compounded annually or monthly? It should be monthly because they're monthly dividends, right?
No, it's probably quarterly dividends if it's mutual funds.
All right, quarterly. All right, let's calculate. You said 1.8 and 30.
Yeah, he put that in a calculator. That's it. I ain't buying it, Tam. I'm just not buying it.
That's what he said.
And what's the fees?
Again, you gotta go pick the right one. In 30 years, the person who 35 in 30 years just invest $800 a month in mutual funds, they'll be a millionaire by the time they're 65.
Well, I'm doing something wrong then.
That's what he said.
Because you do $8,000, then that's what, 17 million, right?
What if we started out at $8,000?
Yeah, just do 8,000, 8,000. I want to see that. It's about 17 million, right?
In 30 years?
Yeah.
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 That's what he said. Easy as pie. 8,000. Start out with 8,000. In 30 years, you'll be 8,000 a month. What we doing?
I don't know, Tam. Dave got me on this one. I'm confused.
That's what he said. He said, keep in mind these numbers assume $65,000 annual household income from ages 35 to 65. This means that even if you never get a raise, switch to a higher paying job, or receive an employer match throughout your career, you can still retire a millionaire.
Okay, Dave. Now, I do think consistency, you can be a millionaire. Don't get me wrong. However, the investments do matter and the fees do matter.
Well, this is what you say right here. The cost. Even after finding a mutual fund that gets great returns, costly fees can really muck up your growth. This is why you should invest in front end loaded mutual funds. What's a front end loaded mutual fund?
So front end load is what I talked about earlier. So that just means that as soon as so going back to the $100 example that I talked about, and for those that may just be tuning in, a front end loaded mutual funds just means if you're going to invest $100, and let's just say they charge you 5% on that mutual fund front end, then that means the whole 100 is not going in. It's going to be $95 going in. Because the front end load is that 5% that they charge on the front end before they put the money inside the mutual fund. And that goes to the agent, by the way.
I need to be a mutual fund manager. I need to be a mutual fund manager then.
There go example right there. There go example right there. Scroll up. Scroll up. Yep,
right
scroll
here.
up. Yep, right there. There go example right there. So where it say,
hold on. There we go.
Yeah, where it say to illustrate how the load worksheet says invest $10,000 in this AGTHX fund.
Mm-hmm.
So they pay a front end load of 5.75% of $575. And the remaining $9,425 is used to purchase shares inside the mutual fund.
So he said front load.
Yeah, so front load, and you pay a front load every time you put money into the account. So if you do that $10,000 and let's just say you come next month and you do another $10,000, they're going to charge you another $575. And then another $9,425 can go inside the account. And then at the end of the year, they're going to charge you a 12B1 fee between 0.25% up to 7.25% on all the money that's in your account.
Again, no. And so Dave Ramsey, did he create a mutual fund?
Yeah, he got
inside
so he has funds and he has agents that market their funds internally.
Oh, he making a killing.
So
that
of
money,
course he could
that money not being recorded.
So that would make sense. And you all, that would make sense. But I'm not here to bash Dave. I'm just here to point out the obvious. He has an internal program built. So for him, he's always going to guarantee to make 12%. I mean, he can make always 12% because he can make it just from his front end load on his mutual funds and his 12B1 fees.
Oh, that Nightbot, that's your Nightbot, isn't it? 10.
Yeah.
That's your Nightbot. So Dave basically is making money by having people invest in the mutual funds as a recommendation in his program. And they have an expense fee for that, and they also have a 12B1 fee, and he probably have them front load. So he make money off of that and then managing the funds in which they're in. Got you.
So now, so let's just do this. Tam, bring up a calculator real quick, and
Right
let's just show them. So let's just say if they put 20,000 in their mutual fund,
Okay.
we know what 1,500. No, that's $1,200. We know it's gonna come out for the front end load.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just do the 9,420. Was it $25?
9,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
94.25.
So do that times 2.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull up a calculator.
So
Right.
people can really see the math here. Times 2.
Uh-huh.
All right, now take that number, multiply. We're gonna do on the low end. 0.25%.
Okay. What's the 0.25%?
That's the 12B1 fee.
That's the 12B1
Yep,
fee.
they're gonna get charged that in December. So that's another $4,000.
4,700.
Right.
Right. That they're gonna get swacked.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't really understand how he even can come to that conclusion that if he's pushing mutual funds, that's 9 times out of 10, it's very rare you're gonna have mutual funds that's not front end loaded. It's very rare. Now you do have some, but it's very rare. They call a no load fund, and basically that means that it's a no load fund because the fees are really, really low. But you normally don't see those in mass because the the fund manager has to make money. So you rarely see those. So if he's pushing front end loaded mutual funds, so you're going to pay a front end load and you'll pay a 12B1 fee. And he stated in his document that the fees do affect your rate of return.
Right.
So the reality is you could think of it this way. This is I say this is a key component, easy math that anybody can do when they're looking at a mutual fund is take the front load percentage and add it to the 12B1 fee that they're charging, add those together, multiply that by the total amount you're going to invest. It give you an idea on how much you're going to pay in fees.
Now, this is the kicker. Multiply that by having 10,000 people invest in that one mutual fund.
Right.
Right. So this is the 4712 was the fee. But if he got 15,000 people that invested in that one fund, you know how much money that is?
Can't you see why he's a $50+ million cash millionaire? Multi-millionaire?
He almost worth $1 billion.
Okay, well, there you go.
He almost worth $1 billion. He's almost worth $1 billion. You got to follow the money.
And all his money is pretty much he owned everything. He owned the buildings, the new building, the new school that they built. He owned all his real estate outright. Like,
so what you're saying is, instead of investing in the mutual funds, we need to be following the business structure that he created.
That's correct.
Our own mutual fund.
That's correct. Mutual funds is where it's at.
So the family needs to create a mutual fund. Instead of having a family fund, it need to be a family mutual fund.
Yep, have a family mutual fund and have one person as a licensed fund manager.
I can dig it. Are there some out there already?
I'm pretty sure it is.
5 family funds. I find it quick. Hold on, let me back out because this is too big. There we go. All right. There are so many different type of investment options today, blah, blah, blah. There are 800 fund families with approximately 23.2 million invested in open-ended mutual funds and ETFs. Vanguard is a family fund. Who knew? I didn't know Vanguard was a family fund.
Vanguard, BlackRock, Fidelity, American Funds, and State Street.
34.7 billion. 32
Okay, so-
32 billion. Go ahead.
All right, so let's look at this for a second. Go back to State Street.
Mm-hmm.
You see the assets under management?
Yeah, 870 billion.
Imagine doing a 12B1 fee on that entire amount.
Let's do it. Can my calculator go that high? 870 billion. Let me see. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Is that a billion? 1, 2, 1, 2. I need one more zero.
Yeah, one more zero. That's it.
2. All right. And okay, how much? What kind of fee?
0.25%.
0.25. 1, 2, 3. It's still 21 billion.
21 billion in just 12B1 management fees.
We're in the wrong game, people. We're in the wrong.
Like,
yeah. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up, the whole Dave Ramsey and the mutual funds, because I want to talk about the fees behind them and what he's pushing in his overall product and the actual expense ratios. And can it really be, is that something that we really can look at and say, yeah, we can make millionaires off investing in these mutual funds? Is that true?
yeah, I personally think most people, and this is just working in the industry and seeing the expenses, I think most people should really get away from mutual funds because the expenses. And then on top of that, it's not like the expenses is actually, you got a limit, you got a range for most of the expenses. But most companies, if you get the better funds, they're gonna have the expenses closest to the higher end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. Now here's another question. When it comes down to the withdrawal rate, should we be looking at multiple withdrawal rates depending on the time?
That is correct.
Everywhere I've seen, they're saying, yeah, you may start out at 8%, maybe the first year or two, depending on when Social Security is going to kick in, and the taxes on whether you're going to roll over or whether you're going to do a conversion or what have you. Because again, some people have money in the Roth side, some people got money in the traditional side. And so when you're going to have that taxable event, you may need to be looking at like what tax bracket you're going to be in as well too, in order to combat some of that. So now let's play devil's advocate here. Do you have faith in the 401k versus the IUL?
I think they both have their purpose. I think for most people, as they start to get more seasoned and more experience with their investments, I think they should probably have both, because I think each one has a purpose.
I got a friend of mine said that he think the 401k should die. He said they should get rid of it.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective, but I don't think that's right for everyone. because you still have to know in the IUL, it's the only way you can get the biggest bang for your buck. It depends on how much you front load it. Because if a lot of people don't have a lot of money to front load it, then it really ain't gonna be that big of a benefit. Then the insurance company gonna win, but the person not necessarily gonna get the gains that they possibly could get. And then the benefit that the IUL don't have, that the retirement 401k have, is company matching. There's no program out there that's going to give you 100% rate of return. Right. So from that perspective alone, and then on top of that, you still got to think about the other benefits of the 401k. You do get some exemptions where you can take money out. The IUL, that's going to be a penalty and a charge. And it could be a taxable event. Just depends.
I thought in the IUL you could take a loan.
Well, that depends. Because all IULs is not the same.
I agree.
Because it's an insurance product.
In the IUL, you can take a loan. That's what everybody was talking about. In the IUL, you can take a loan.
That depends. Because not all IULs is created the same. It's an insurance product.
And everybody can't get it.
Exactly. You have to qualify for that too.
Right.
401k, that's part of the benefit program of you being an employee, being on the W2.
You don't need to qualify. We just don't give it to you.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I say, they both have their purpose. I think, the 401k is a good start because you get some of the fundamental things that you're just not going to get nowhere else. And then I still think that the IUL comes in as you get a little bit more advanced, because now you get a chance to really front load it and you can really get the benefits.
So the new number for you to max out your 401k for 2024 is $19.16 a month. $19.17 if you want to round up. The new number is $23,000. So to max out every month, you need to be putting away $19.16. Now, we go back over here to the calculator and say you starting out with $19.16. Or I do $19.17, and you putting in $19.17 a month, and I'm gonna forego the years that it increased. We just gonna keep it there. All right, we're gonna say invest annually, or we're gonna say compound annually, or we're gonna do it monthly. We do it annually.
Yeah, do it annually.
Let's do calculate. It's saying 30 years. 3.8. That's what they're saying.
That's 3.8.
So in 3.8, you'll be at 3.8 in 30 years. So if you're 30 years old right now, and you can max it, and this is where I get into the numbers at. You can't be at a job making $45,000.
Right.
You can't be at a job making $45,000. You're gonna have to be at a job making at least a minimum. I'm pushing 200. That's what I'm going with. I'm stick with my number. 200, 250 at a minimum, because this is pre-tax dollars. So at 200,000 divided by 12, that's $16.66 a month. You got to be there so you can live comfortably. When people tell you that they can make it off of $50,000 a month, yeah, but they're not maxing out their 401k at $19.17 a month. I'm gonna show you the numbers. Divided by 12. That's $41.66 a month. Let's go ahead and knock off.
That's before taxes.
That's before taxes. Let's knock on 1917. That's $22.49 a month. So you basically getting $1,000 a paycheck. I don't know nobody that lives off approximately $1,000 a paycheck. I'm not seeing it.
Mhm.
You still ain't paid your rent yet. And you ain't paid your mutual fund expenses yet. I'm just pointing out the obvious here. Right? I'm pointing out the obvious. So know the Dave Ramsey on the 8% drawdown. I like Oak Harvest, and I like the way they say it's gonna be. You're gonna have a variable drawdown rate, meaning you may be at 6 or 7 or 8 in the beginning, maybe the first 2 or 3 years. You're gonna scale that back once Social Security or your other things that you invested in kicks in. Remember, 401k is just one investment vehicle. There's still your brokerage account. There's still your HSA. There's still your high yield savings account. And there's still other things that you have going that you can start taking money from. But you may not take them at 62 to 65. You may take them at 70. And so they may add into your income.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think people have to know too, Tam, when it comes to retirement, because with retirement, no one vehicle is the retirement product. They all supplements to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the key when you think about retirement, people have to understand how to strategically retire, because let's just say if they do have a brokerage account, or let's just say they're 401k and they looking to retire, well, they just got to make sure that when they start withdrawing across all their accounts, which one is going to give them the least amount of tax, upfront taxes. But then if you let's just say they got Social Security, maybe they could start with, doing their Social Security and not necessarily touch their investment. And maybe they might could delay a few years of more growth. So then in the first 2 years, like you say, they can now verbally make and take 8 that first year, because they delayed it because they were using their other supplement retirement income. And even if they had real estate, they may be getting a rental check from their real estate, whatever the case may be. So those are the type things you got to think about for retirement, because it's not a one size fit all, but it's really about your strategic planning while you're doing the building up to retirement. Hence why you should, hire someone, but not, Dave Ramsey. But
and this is why I'll go back, like set a number. Like to me, I think at a minimum, just my own personal thoughts, and people may not agree with this, at a minimum, I think people should be at $10,000 for retirement at a minimum. That's just at a minimum.
Yep.
Well, they lack financial discipline, but here's the thing about the lack of the financial discipline. It was another video that was out today, is learning how to hide money from yourself. I know I lack financial discipline sometimes, and if I want to be strong, have a stronghold, I go put some money somewhere where you can't touch it, where you got to physically walk into the bank, where there's no, like, you gotta drive to the bank, and you got to go sit outside and wait on it. Because if you're doing stuff like that, you're not going to transfer that money out. It's not easy to get to. And you'll be like, oh, that's too much work to do all of that. Right. So sometimes you just got to hide money from yourself, especially if you don't have the discipline. That's just my thoughts. Anything you want to add to that before we get out?
No, I think we covered it. I just think that, and I would just say this. Yeah, I think Dave Ramsey has some great points, but this definitely one point that he's off on, and he don't have the statistical data to back it up. So, and I think too many times we because no one person has all the answers. You have to go and you have to seek, and you got to put together your plan for you, but you got to gather information from different sources and then piece together something for yourself. Because finance is still as individual, and you have to know your end goal. Like Tam just mentioned, your number, and then you build towards your number, but you gather information that's going to help you build it bigger, faster, and sooner.
All right. So I'm gonna leave you with this, and we're gonna come back and do this another day. I'm gonna leave this question. I'm gonna throw this question out there because this is an ongoing battle. I had this battle with some of my friends of mine. This is what they say. They say, do not invest in stocks, only invest in real estate because stocks are too risky. Stocks have real estate has a better return than stocks. I'm gonna let you marinate on that. I'm gonna let everybody marinate on that. You go do your research. We'll come back. We'll do another show on it. And you tell me what you think.
I already got an answer for that, but I'm ready.
Over stocks or stocks over real estate? Well, go ahead, answer the question. Go answer.
You want me to answer now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think they both have their purpose, but I will agree. The stock market is more risky only because the equities market is more influenced by power. Where real estate, because you get a physical, tangible item, is more influenced by the item. Is influenced by other things that's more within your control or within your reach. With investments, is really influence. Okay, so for example,
hold on before you finish that. I'm gonna give you my back of what I think is part of that is. Do you think, and this sounds crazy, just hear me out. Do you think the reason why you say real estate is so you can touch it, and the reason why you don't say stocks is because you can't touch it? And is that influence coming from the powers that be? Don't look like you and I, and they have control over the stock market. So there's a lack of trust with the stocks versus I could walk onto this property, I could touch it, I could feel it, and you ain't nothing you could do about that. But this stock, there's no touch or nothing. It's just some money that's doing something somewhere, and there's no touch, and the powers that be control it.
Well, yes and no. So I say yes to part of that, no to the other part. I say yes to the part that, yes, it is powers to be that has a lot more influence over there that don't look like you and I. But I say no because the reason why I still say real estate is because, one, the tax system give you more leniency because of real estate. And I think the reason why is because the government knows that it cannot house all the population, so it gives incentives. Because when you think about just the rules as a whole, that's the only area that most of the time the tax laws don't normally work against the homeowner. But when it comes to investments, it could sway either way because they just trying to find a way to pass the risk from the investor, from the company to the investor, I should say.
Gotcha.
So I say that's the reason why I say it, because I always gonna take it back to, if you have real estate, you have a little bit more control over how you're going to pay Uncle Sam. But when you have investments, it's no getting around it. It's no getting around it. You got to pay to play.
Shout out to the lead attorney for stepping in the building.
We got the leaders in the building.
You know, over here, lead. We talk about tech, stocks, and jobs. We not that messy over here. Now we talk about little Dave Ramsey, but we didn't get into P. Diddy.
Well, leaders in the option trading.
Oh yeah, option trading. Oh snap! Oh snap! Use some UGA skills. I see. All right, use use EA skills. I see you. Linus, you said you closed your Webull account and you going with Charles Schwab. I'm gonna say this: Charles Schwab been having some things going on. I'm not saying they bad. I'm just saying you may want to switch over to Fidelity. Lee, you didn't go broke. You went broke with that pot of money. You didn't go broke, right? But I wanted to put that out there because this is what I hear all the time is that if and I hear it from just be truthful, I hear it from Black people. I can see real estate. I can't see stocks.
But I say you just need both. For
Well,
me, you need both.
I mean, I'm also leaving out crypto too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But what I hear a lot of time is people like, I can go touch, it's tangible. I can see it. I can go to it. I can touch it. I can see it. I can get somebody in there or whatnot. I can't do the same thing with stocks. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think there are other things behind that that leads people to say, like, I don't want to invest in the stock market, or I don't want to do this. And a lot of people don't even want to be bothered with insurance companies as well, too.
Right.
Much less, they may get their insurance, their short-term, long-term, and their life insurance policy from their job, but they're not going to go buy a term life insurance policy.
Right. They ain't going to an outside company.
No, they're not going to. The company vetted them. I'm going with what they got. I'm not going outside of it. And I think it's a lot of mistrust there. And I think there's a lot of money that gets left on the table and a lot of debt that gets incurred in the family. That's why I wanted to mention the family fund tonight, where you could have a family fund in 30 years, one at 1.5 and another one in 30 years at 16 million, right? Well, we're just investing $400 a piece with 5 people. Now, I don't know if Lee can handle stuff like that. Where the family got a fund, a 16 million, you may have to call in somebody, you may have to draw up the paperwork. I don't know, but it'll be I think that'll be a good conversation to have one day. Is what does it look like, and who do you designate and put in charge of having a family fund where each family members may be 10 family members and they donate $400 a piece for the next 30 years. What could that look like? What does the paperwork look like? What does that get into? I don't know. Who's suing who? I don't know.
Yeah, and they get a key man policy. That means that so if one member passed, then they just claim that part of their policy, and then it just keeps going.
Gotcha. Key man policy.
Yeah, key man policy. That's what a lot of churches get when they got a lot of board members. That's part of the church. They'll get a key man policy. So just in case one of the key people pass, they'll take those proceeds from that policy and it can allow the operations to continue to go.
Key man policy. Key insurance is a life insurance policy that businesses takes out on its most valuable employee or employees. A policy that can also include a rider for disability coverage to help if a key employee is disabled. Key person insurance helps safeguard small businesses for imperative employee dies or becomes disabled.
Yep.
Gotcha.
You won't. And then what they do is they set it up in sections so that, the operations can continue to go just like the person is there from a financial perspective. So the operations don't shut down. No interruption in operations.
Got you. So this is where also too where financial audits need to take place.
Yep.
Make sure ain't nobody siphoning off the money. Right.
Or putting that in your drink.
Slow death. Oh yeah, Miss Lucille made some collard greens and neck bones last night. She brought them up here for the church to eat. Miss Lucille be taking out folks, taking out key members of the church. But okay, cool. Go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say, but yeah, we need to have that conversation though, Tim. We got to dive deeper because I think that's a great conversation.
All right, we'll do it. We'll save it. We'll dive deeper. Look, I see D is in the back. I know D tired, but I wanted to make sure that y'all got good information on the Dave Ramsey and the withdrawal rate. A family fund. What does that look like if you had 30, 10 to 30 members, starting off with $1,000 piece for each member, putting into a family fund, let it ride for 30 years, and what that could look like in 30 years. You could do 10 members, you can do 5 members, you could do 20 members or whatnot. But the goal of it is you no longer have to worry about somebody need money for a funeral. It's in the family fund. You don't have to worry about somebody need to go to college. They can do it out of the family fund. Now, when I say they do it out of the family fund, whatever they take out, it got to go back into it. You can't just can't keep taking. And the fund, you got to put something in. You got to put something on it. So just putting that in perspective for everybody, making sure that we all know. I want to show appreciation for the lead attorney, Tara M, all those that super chatted, also as well as Diggy, you funny, and thanks for dropping through tonight, as well as our illustrious guests, Intentional Millionaire. Thanks for coming up and giving your insight as well. And let's give a shout out to D in the back for holding it down at 1:20 in the morning, doing her thing. Shout out D. D, you need for us to send you something to eat?
Shout out D. What is going on, D? I just didn't. D, I ain't real. I'm like you do. I ain't realize it was 1:20. This is late for me. I just look at time when K did it. I was like, yeah, it is 1:20.
No, Linus, it's not. No, the $1,000 will come from each member on the initial start of that fund. So if you got 10 people, $1,000 for 10 people, and everybody put in $400 each month for the next 30 years. I think everybody can afford $400 a month, especially if you got an income or you got you got a household with 2 people. It's just $200 they put into that fund, each person, and that fund can grow over time. Well, see that we talked about that. The finding somebody who's trustworthy. You don't have to find somebody in the family. It don't have to be somebody in the family that manages that. You can go outside. You can go outside of that and find somebody to manage that. Now that's the trick though. Who outside of the family would you trust? I don't know.
Good question.
I don't know. You better do if it were me, I would get somebody outside the family to do it, and I would have a financial audit run on the books every year. That way you know what's going on. That way that person who's over that mutual fund or however you want to set it up, they get audited just as well. Oh, they were siphoning off the money. You see what happened to what's his name? Steve Harvey. So again, just my thoughts. Not the attorneys. I don't know. I'm not sure how that looks for the attorneys. All right, y'all. It's been real. I appreciate y'all for coming out. I'm glad y'all stayed on and got some valuable information. It wasn't Foolish Finance Friday is how we want to, but it was still foolish. We were still a little petty. Not as petty as I wanted to be, but I get petty tomorrow. I got stuff for that. All right, Ken. Y'all.
All right, now.
Y'all be safe.
All right, have a good one.
All right, now.